Who am I going to talk to? I don't have anyone right now.
Yeah, that's such a common roadblock. It's this idea that you're completely dependent on finding someone else, a practice partner, before you can actually work on your speaking.
Right. And feels like you're just stuck waiting around for the perfect opportunity or the perfect person to magically show up. It's frustrating.
And that feeling, that dependency, it really does hold countless learners back. It creates this bottleneck, suggesting, that improving this really crucial skill can only happen through interaction with others.
Which isn't always possible, is it? Schedules clash, people aren't available.
Exactly. It's often just not convenient or even accessible.
Okay, so this is where the source material we've been digging into for this deep dive gets really interesting. It offers something genuinely powerful, maybe even a bit surprising for some folks. It presents this core idea that kind of challenges that whole dependency thing head on. The idea that you absolutely can make real, tangible progress in speaking English, even when you're practicing completely by yourself.
And that's such a game changer, isn't it? It completely flips the script. Instead of waiting and feeling dependent, the learner suddenly becomes proactive, in control. Empowered, really.
Yeah.
By focusing on practicing by yourself, you just take that external variable out of the equation. And that gives you so much flexibility in how you learn.
So for this deep dive, our mission is pretty clear. We're going to unpack this whole method. We'll break down exactly how you can speak English alone, look at the practical strategies the sources lay out, really get into why this approach works so well, like the benefits underneath it all.
Right.
Give you a step-by-step guide to get started, like today. Talk about common mistakes people make so you can avoid them.
Good idea.
And then wrap it all up with a concrete challenge to actually put this stuff into action right away.
Our goal, really, is that by the end of this, you, the listener, won't just feel more informed, but actually equipped. Confident that you can take your English speaking practice into your own hands.
Yeah, make real progress, regardless of whether you have a practice partner available at that exact moment.
Because we get that frustration. You want to speak more, you know you need to, but life gets in the way. Schedules, finding people, maybe even just feeling a bit shy.
Totally. So this deep dive is really for you. We're acknowledging that challenge, but also presenting this, well, really powerful solution that puts you back in the driver's seat for your fluency.
Okay, so maybe the best place to start is getting clear on the terminology. According to the sources, what exactly do we mean by speaking English alone? What does that actually involve?
Yeah, that's super important to clarify right off the bat, because it's not just, thinking in English silently in your head. That's useful too, definitely, but it's a different skill.
Right.
The sources are really clear. Speaking alone means the physical act, using your voice, making sounds, forming words and sentences out loud.
Out loud, yeah. Even if you're the only one there to hear it.
Exactly. Even if it's just you and the four walls. You're giving voice to thoughts, descriptions, whatever it is.
Precisely. The emphasis is on vocalization. And the core purpose, as the material describes it, is that deliberate training. You're training your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords, the whole physical system. And you're coordinating that with your brain's language centers. It's about building that muscle memory almost and the cognitive pathways you need for speaking fluently. You're giving the whole system a workout.
It's like exercise for your mouth and brain together.
Pretty much. And it directly tackles that common idea we mentioned that you have to have a partner. The real power here, according to the sources, is the accessibility, the autonomy.
Right. Because you are your own partner.
Exactly. So you can practice whenever you want, wherever you want, waiting for someone else, finding a specific place. It just becomes irrelevant. You control the when, the where, the how. Total control over your practice schedule.
Which, when you think about language learning, that kind of autonomy is, well, it's huge for making steady progress, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. Relying on others can mean inconsistent practice, frustration when things fall through. It slows you down. Being able to practice speaking meaningfully whenever you have a moment, that removes those roadblocks. It allows for continuous effort.
Okay, so definition clear. Speaking English alone means using your voice out loud. Now, the fun part, the how. How do you actually do it? What are the specific techniques the sources suggest to make this a real practice? They give quite a few, starting really simple.
Yeah, the most basic starting point they detail is what they call everyday descriptions. This is just about engaging with what's immediately around you or what you're doing right now and describing it out loud, using simple, straightforward sentences.
It's literally just narrating your life in real time.
Right.
The source gives these great basic examples like, I'm making eggs now, or I'm adding salt to the pan, or even just saying a simple thought out loud like, It's a bit cold in here. Or, oh, I need to remember to buy milk later. The key thing is just making the sound, vocalizing.
Right. It doesn't need to be complicated grammar or fancy words. Just
Yeah.
willingness to open your mouth and connect English sounds to what's happening.
Your present reality.
And the value there is that low barrier to entry. It doesn't take much mental effort or planning. You're not building complex arguments or telling stories yet.
Yep.
You're just linking basic words and sentences to what you see, feel, and do. That ease makes it much simpler to actually start and, crucially, to do it consistently.
Okay, building on that a little.
Mm-hmm.
Another technique is answering your own questions. This sounds kind of fun, actually. It's like simulating a conversation with yourself.
Yeah, the material gives a perfect example. You ask yourself something like, okay, what are my plans for today?
Uh-huh.
And then you actually answer it out loud with details. Well, first I need to finish this report.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think I'll go for a run around lunchtime. After that, I have that meeting at 3.
So you're playing both roles, interviewer and interviewee. What did I think of that movie last night? Honestly, it was okay. The plot was a bit predictable, but the acting was really good.
Exactly. And doing that naturally pushes you to formulate responses, find the right words, put sentences together in a way that feels like a conversation, even though there's no one else there.
It gets you used to retrieving information and expressing it, like you would in a real chat.
Right. It trains your brain not just to understand a question, but to actually activate that whole process of generating a relevant answer verbally. That's a core skill for dialogue.
Okay, so taking those everyday descriptions we talked about,
Yeah.
the sources suggest expanding that into narrating your whole day, making it more continuous.
Yeah, transforming those little moments of description into something more immersive. The examples they give really walk you through it, like waking up, okay, getting out of bed now. Ooh, my back feels a bit stiff. Didn't sleep too well, I guess.
Right, just saying what's happening. Then maybe in the kitchen. Right, time for coffee. Need to fill up the kettle. Where are the coffee beans? Ah, here they are. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Or getting dressed. What should I wear? Looks kind of gray outside. Maybe the green sweater? Yeah, that works. Need to find clean socks.
What I like about those examples is how they directly connect the English words to what you're actually doing or seeing. You see the kettle, you say kettle. You feel stiff, you say stiff.
Exactly. It anchors the language in your lived experience, which helps vocabulary stick much better. And they have examples for going outside, too. Oh, the sun's finally out. Lots of people walking around today. Oh, I can hear a dog barking somewhere nearby.
It just solidifies that link between the language and your immediate world.
And it means your daily routine becomes this endless source of practice material. You literally never run out of things to talk about because you're just talking about your life as it happens. You're attaching English to the fabric of your day.
Okay, moving to something a bit more structured. The source suggests picking a topic and just speaking about it nonstop for, say, 2 or 3 minutes.
Right. This shifts the focus a bit. From simple description to more sustained expression of thought. You choose a subject, could be anything, really. Your favorite movie, what you did last weekend, a goal you have. And the key instruction here is to keep talking for that whole time without stopping to correct yourself.
That non-stop part seems really important for this specific exercise. The goal isn't perfection here, right? It's about building flow, momentum.
Exactly. It's training your brain to keep the English coming, to push past those little hesitations or moments where you search for a word. You can always go back and review later, but for those 2 or 3 minutes, just keep the voice going.
Helps you get over that tendency to pause and mentally translate or overthink every single word. It builds speaking stamina.
Which is vital for real conversations where you often need to speak continuously for a bit.
Another practical method they highlight is reflecting on your day out loud.
Yeah.
In English, obviously.
Yeah, this moves beyond just describing the present. It encourages you to process past events, things that happened earlier, using English. The examples are super relatable. Okay, so I finished that big report today, finally. Felt good.
Or, that meeting went way longer than I expected, but actually we made some progress.
Right. Or I learned something interesting about project planning on that call, or even looking ahead. Now I'm just going to chill out tonight, maybe watch a movie.
So this naturally gets you using past tenses, sequencing things, maybe expressing how you felt about something that happened. Adds another layer.
Definitely. It helps consolidate your memories and experiences by actively verbalizing them in English. It reinforces the language needed to talk about the past.
Okay, the source also groups together some techniques that bring in more complex language use. Things like practicing conversations, storytelling, and giving opinions.
Yeah, practicing conversations, like we touched on with answering your own questions, but maybe more elaborate. You could pose a common question. So what do you do for a living? And then answer fully as if explaining to someone.
Right. Well, I work in marketing, specifically digital marketing.
Right.
I manage social media campaigns for small businesses, which involves, creating content, running ads, analyzing results, a full explanation.
Exactly. Then storytelling. This is about recounting events, maybe real or imagined, with a clear beginning, middle, and end. They gave that nice example about finding a bookstore.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Last year, I was traveling in this little town by the sea, and I stumbled upon this amazing old bookstore. It was just packed with books, smelled like old paper. I spent hours in there.
See, that requires using narrative tenses, descriptive words, structuring the story. It's more involved.
Definitely. And then giving opinions,
Yeah.
expressing your viewpoint on something.
Right. The example is about learning English itself. I really think learning English is crucial these days. It connects people, opens doors for work and travel. For me, it's already made a big difference.
So you're using phrases for expressing belief, giving reasons, maybe using more abstract language.
hmm And these techniques show how you can gradually scale up the challenge. You start with simple descriptions, but you can build up to practicing pretty much any kind of communication you do in a real conversation. The possibilities are endless once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, the source really emphasizes that.
hmm
Okay, and one really crucial piece woven through all of this is how to handle mistakes.
hmm
Because, let's be honest, mistakes are going to happen.
Absolutely inevitable and totally normal.
So the advice from the source is really wise here.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't get bogged down or discouraged when you mess up. Just keep going.
Right. And they give that great practical example like if you say, yesterday, he'd go to the store, and you catch it. Don't freeze up or start the whole sentence over necessarily. Just correct it naturally out loud. Wait, he goes in. No, yesterday. He went to the store. And then just carry on with your thought.
I love that. It's like training your brain to be its own editor, but in real time, without losing the flow. You acknowledge the mistake, reinforce the correct form, and move on.
Exactly. It integrates error correction into the act of speaking rather than letting it become this big disruptive thing that kills your confidence.
Which is kind of how fluent speakers self-correct anyway, isn't it? Little adjustments on the fly.
Precisely. It builds that internal monitor for your own language output.
Okay, so that's a fantastic range of practical how-tos, from super simple descriptions right up to storytelling and opinions. Now, let's shift gears to the why. Why does talking to yourself, which might feel, I don't know, a bit weird at first,
Yeah.
why is it actually so effective? The sources list some really powerful benefits.
Yeah, and maybe the biggest one, the one that resonates most, is the elimination of fear.
Oh, huge. When you're practicing alone, all that pressure of a real conversation, it just evaporates.
Completely. There's no one listening to judge your accent or your grammar mistakes or if you pause too long.
No worrying about sounding stupid or not being as good as the other person or holding them back. All that anxiety just gone.
Exactly. And fear of making mistakes is such a paralyzing thing in language learning. It stops people from even trying to speak sometimes.
Or makes them really hesitant and nervous when they do.
Right. So by removing the audience, solo practice creates this completely safe space, judgment-free zone. You can try that new word you learned. You can experiment with a sentence structure. You can butcher the pronunciation 10 times. And who cares? Only you know.
That psychological safety, it's incredibly liberating, isn't it? It allows you to actually experiment without fear.
Which is essential for pushing past those speaking barriers and actually making progress. You're prioritizing practice over performance.
Yeah, that freedom is where the real comfort starts to build. Okay, benefit number 2 they really stress is the flexibility and convenience.
Oh yeah, this is massive because you're not tied to anyone else's schedule. No need to book a tutor, wait for a language partner to be free, none of that.
You can practice literally anytime, anywhere. Stuck in traffic, perfect time. Doing the washing up, narrate the bubbles. Walking the dog, describe the trees.
It completely removes the logistical hurdles of trying to coordinate with other people. You can weave speaking practice into those little pockets of time throughout your day.
While you're cooking, cleaning, commuting.
Exercising, brushing your teeth, whatever. It turns that dead time into productive learning time. And that makes consistent practice actually achievable, no matter how busy you are.
And fitting it into those small moments consistently, that feeds directly into the next big benefit, boosting your confidence.
Yeah, the mechanism here is pretty straightforward according to the sources. The more you practice speaking English out loud, even just to yourself,
Uh,
the more your brain and your mouth just get used to it. They get better at forming sentences quickly, efficiently. You're building that fluency muscle through repetition.
so then when you do find yourself in a real conversation,
Mm.
your brain isn't starting cold. It's warmed up. It's already practiced finding words, building sentences, making the sound.
Exactly. The words feel less foreign. They come out more naturally, more clearly, because you've been doing this workout every day.
And that creates this amazing positive cycle, doesn't it?
Totally virtuous cycle. Solo practice builds skill and lowers anxiety. That makes real conversations less scary. Successful real conversations then boost your confidence even more, which motivates you to keep practicing solo. You feel ready.
You feel prepared, not panicked.
Yeah.
Okay, this practice also directly builds fluency itself. How does that work exactly?
Well, speaking out loud, even alone, forces your brain to juggle multiple things at once. You have to access your vocabulary,
Right.
retrieve the right grammar rules, organize your thoughts logically, and coordinate the physical act of speaking all simultaneously in real time.
It's a serious mental workout for the language parts of your brain.
It really is. And by doing that workout repeatedly, you train your brain to connect all those pieces, the words, the grammar, the thoughts, the sounds, much faster and more automatically.
Automaticity. That's the key word, isn't it? Being able to produce language without consciously thinking about every little step.
That's the core of fluency. You spend less energy on how to say it and more energy on what you actually want to communicate. Solo practice directly targets that processing speed.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
And we definitely can't ignore pronunciation here. The sources highlight this as a key area that improves.
Absolutely. When you speak out loud, you create this vital feedback loop. You actually hear yourself speak.
Which you don't really get when you're just thinking or reading.
Exactly. And hearing yourself makes you aware of how you sound. The individual sounds, the stress on words, the rhythm of your sentences, your intonation patterns. So you can start comparing that to, say, native speakers you listen to. You notice, oh, that vowel sound isn't quite right, or my rhythm feels a bit flat there.
That self-awareness is the starting point for improvement.
Right. Then you can consciously try to mimic the patterns you hear, gradually making your pronunciation clearer, smoother, more natural sounding. And good pronunciation makes a huge difference in how easily people understand you and how fluent you sound overall.
It's often overlooked, isn't it?
Yeah.
People focus so much on vocab and grammar.
They do. But practicing aloud makes those musical aspects of language, rhythm, intonation concrete. You can actually hear them and work on them.
Okay, another benefit. This kind of consistent, self-driven practice builds discipline and commitment.
Mhm. Every time you choose to speak English alone, even for just 5 minutes, you're making an active decision to prioritize your learning. You're not waiting for someone else. You're creating the opportunity yourself.
It's about taking ownership.
Totally. And that consistent effort, day after day, builds that habit of proactive learning. It strengthens your commitment, proves to yourself that you're serious about getting fluent and willing to do the work, even when no one's watching.
It builds that mental toughness you need for any long-term goal.
Definitely. Now, on a cognitive level, the sources also point to better memory reinforcement.
Yeah, this just feels intuitive. Saying things out loud makes them stick better than just reading them silently.
It does. Speaking is multisensory. It involves your brain thinking, your mouth moving, motor skills, and your ears hearing.
Right.
This combination engages more parts of your brain, creating stronger neural pathways. It helps embed new words, grammar structures, useful phrases more deeply, more durably in your memory.
It moves language from just being something you recognize passively.
To something you can actually produce actively. It becomes part of your usable toolkit.
Okay, another huge one, especially for intermediate learners maybe. Reducing translation time.
Oh, that bottleneck. Thinking in your native language, mentally translating, then speaking English, it's so slow and draining.
And often sounds unnatural too.
Very often. The sources strongly suggest that consistent solo speaking helps you break that habit. By forcing yourself to think and express directly in English, even simple thoughts at first,
Okay.
you train your brain to bypass that translation step. You start thinking in English.
Which feels like a massive breakthrough when it starts happening.
Huge. It's a real sign of advancing fluency. Speech becomes much faster, much more natural.
And as we mentioned earlier, Practicing alone gives you total control.
Yeah, the sources literally call you the boss of your learning journey here. You decide the pace slow down for tricky sounds, speed up for flow. You decide the repetitions, say that difficult phrase 20 times if you need to.
And you choose the topics.
Yeah.
Whatever is relevant or interesting or challenging for you right now.
Exactly. You're not stuck with the class syllabus or your partner's interests. You can drill that new vocabulary, practice that specific grammar point by making up sentences, talk about that subject you always avoid. That customization makes your practice super efficient, tailored just for you.
Maximizes your learning time. Okay, and finally, maybe the ultimate payoff. It prepares you exceptionally well for real conversations.
Right. That analogy the source used was perfect. Training before the big game.
Love that.
Every solo practice session is like doing drills. You're running through plays, baiting skills, increasing stamina, all in a safe, low-stakes environment.
So when the actual game happens, you meet a native speaker, you have a work call, whatever, you're not going in cold.
Not at all. You've been working those speaking muscles every day. You feel more prepared, less anxious. The act of speaking English just feels more familiar, less intimidating, because you've already been doing it constantly by yourself.
It takes the surprise factor out of it. You know you can speak because you have been speaking.
You feel ready, not ambushed.
Okay, wow. So we've got the what's, speaking out loud, and a whole list of compelling whys. Less fear, more confidence, fluency, better pronunciation, etc. Now let's get super practical. If someone listening is thinking, okay, I'm sold, I want to try this, how do they actually start? The source material gives a really clear 10-step guide.
Yeah, it's designed to be very actionable, kind of ramping things up gradually.
Makes it less daunting. So step 1.
Step 1 is basically choose a moment, find a time and place in your day where you feel comfortable speaking out loud without feeling, self-conscious or like you'll be interrupted.
Could be first thing in the morning, on your commute if you're alone, while cooking.
While walking, yeah. And the instruction for this very first step is keep it simple. Just simple descriptions. What are you doing? What do you see? How do you feel? I'm pouring water. The sky is blue. I feel tired.
The main goal here is just to get your mouth moving, making English sounds, breaking the ice with your own voice.
Exactly. Lowering that initial hurdle, just start making noise.
Okay, step 2. Pick a topic. Once you're okay with the simple descriptions, choose something specific to talk about for, say, 2 or 3 minutes nonstop.
Right. Builds on step 1, adding a bit of structure and duration. Keep the topic easy at first, your family, your job, your favorite food, your plans for the evening, something familiar.
And remember the rule for this one. Nonstop. Focus on flow, not perfection. Just keep talking for those few minutes.
This helps you practice organizing thoughts a bit more and expressing them continuously, connecting ideas.
Step 3. Add variety. Don't just do the same thing every day.
Good point. The sources recommend mixing it up. One day, narrate your actions. The next day, answer your own questions. Maybe the day after, describe a picture or try telling a short story from memory.
Keeps it interesting, right? Prevents boredom.
Definitely. But more importantly, it exposes you to different kinds of language, different vocabulary, different grammar, different ways of communicating description, narration, opinion. It prepares you better for the variety you encounter in real conversations.
Makes sense? Step 4. Use a timer and up the ante to 5 minutes of nonstop speaking.
Yeah, natural progression. Set that timer for 5 minutes, pick your topic, and go. The source suggests this longer burst helps build more conversational stamina. It pushes you to think and speak a bit faster, more like a real interaction.
5 minutes doesn't sound like long, but speaking nonstop in a foreign language for that time, it's a proper workout.
It really is. Pushes your brain. Okay, step 5. This one's maybe one of the most powerful. Record yourself.
Ooh, yeah. This one might feel a bit weird at first for people, listening back to your own voice.
It can feel awkward, definitely, but the sources are unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
It is incredibly useful. When you listen back, you hear things you just don't notice while you're speaking.
Like what?
Hesitations, maybe using the same filler word over and over, awkward sentences, pronunciation issues you weren't aware of, your intonation. But also, importantly, you hear what you're doing well, where you sound fluent.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about finding flaws.
Not at all. It's about gaining an objective perspective. That self-awareness is gold for knowing where to focus your improvement efforts. And tracking progress, hearing your recording from last month versus today, hugely motivating.
I can see that. Okay, step 6. Repeat phrases you like.
Yeah, actively mimic things you hear from native speakers.
Yeah.
If you're watching a movie or listening to a podcast and you hear a phrase or just the way someone says something that sounds really natural or useful,
Uh-huh.
pause it and repeat it out loud several times. Try to copy the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation, the music of it.
It helps you internalize those natural patterns, right?
Mm.
Stuff you can't just learn from a textbook.
Exactly. Trains your mouth and ear together.
Step 7. Start a speaking journal.
This sounds cool. It's about consistency and creating a record. The idea is to use a voice recorder app on your phone.
We all have one of those.
Right. And just make a short entry each day. Maybe summarize your day, talk about something you read or thought about. Just capture your feelings in English.
Like a diary, but spoken.
Exactly. And over time, you build up this library of your own spoken English. You can listen back, hear your progress, identify patterns. It makes the practice feel more cumulative, like a journey.
Yeah, less like random sessions. Okay, step 8 flows from that. Review and improve.
Right. Ties into the recording in the journal. Listen back to a recent recording. Critically, yes, but also kindly. Pick just 1 or 2 specific things you want to work on, maybe a sound you keep mispronouncing or a grammar mistake you often make. Then re-record that same bit or talk about the same topic again, but this time consciously focus on improving those 1 or 2 things.
So it's not about fixing everything at once, just targeted improvement.
Exactly. Use the recordings as data. Listen, identify, practice correcting. It builds that self-correction muscle. It's iterative. Speak, analyze, adjust, speak again.
Got it. Step 9. Talk during simple tasks.
Yeah, weaving it back into the everyday. Talk to yourself while you're doing mundane things, washing dishes, folding laundry, tidying up, getting dressed, planning your day in your head, but saying it out loud.
These are moments when your brain isn't fully occupied, right? So it's low pressure.
Perfect low-pressure opportunities. Just speak. You're training your brain to use English concurrently with other activities, just like in real life. Turns chores into practice time.
Love that efficiency. Okay, and the final step, number 10, the big one. Stay consistent.
Absolutely non-negotiable, according to all the sources. Consistency trumps everything else. Practicing for hours once a week is way less effective than practicing for just 5 or 10 minutes every single day.
Even just 5 minutes a day makes a real difference over time.
Huge difference. It keeps the language active in your brain, builds the habit, prevents backsliding. The cumulative effect is powerful. Don't aim for perfect sessions, aim for daily sessions. Don't break the chain.
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so that's the 10-step plan. Really clear, actionable stuff. But, like anything, there are potential bumps in the road. The source material also flags some common mistakes learners make when they try this. Knowing these up front could save a lot of frustration.
Yeah, definitely helpful to be aware of the pitfalls. And probably the most common one is expecting perfection right away.
Oh, totally. It's so easy to make a mistake, stumble over a word, forget a grammar rule, and immediately feel like, I'm terrible at this or this isn't working.
Right. That desire for flawlessness is a huge barrier. But the key insight here is mistakes aren't failures. They are literally part of the process. They're how you learn.
Their feedback.
Exactly. So the solution isn't to avoid mistakes, because you can't. It's to embrace them. Focus on making progress, not being perfect. Use errors as signposts showing you where to work next.
Good mindset shift. Okay, related mistake. Staying silent when you get stuck. Like, you can't find the perfect word, so you just stop talking.
Yeah, freezing up. The sources strongly advise against that. Long pauses disrupt the flow and actually hinder fluency development. It's much better to keep the momentum going.
How? Like, what do you do if you really don't know the word?
Simplify. Or describe it. If you can't think of screwdriver, say, that tool. You use it for screws. The metal thing. Keep talking. Communicate the idea somehow.
Circumlocution. Working around the gap.
Exactly. It keeps you speaking, and it's actually a really valuable communication skill in itself for real conversations, too. Prioritize flow over finding the absolute perfect word every time.
Okay, another trap. Repeating the same easy sentences or topics all the time.
It feels comfortable, right? Talking about your routine again because you know the words. But staying in that comfort zone creates a ceiling. You feel fluent within that tiny area, but you're not actually growing.
So you need to challenge yourself.
Constantly. Actively try to use new words you've learned. Experiment with more complex sentence structures. Force yourself to talk about unfamiliar or difficult topics. That's where the real expansion happens.
Step outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, a really big one now. Translating from your native language in your head.
Yes. Thinking in language A, Mentally converting to language B, then speaking language B. It's just so slow and inefficient.
And often sounds really unnatural, like translationese.
Exactly. The sources stress you have to consciously practice thinking directly in English. Start simple, even if it's just need coffee or weather nice today. A direct, simple English thought is better than a perfectly translated complex thought.
And gradually, the complexity of the English thoughts will increase with practice.
That's the goal. It's a tough mental shift, but solo practice is the ideal safe space to train that new habit.
Okay, mistake number 5. Comparing yourself to others.
Oh yeah, seeing someone else who seems way more fluent and thinking, I'll never be that good, why bother?
It's so easy to fall into that comparison trap.
But everyone's journey is different. Background, time, exposure, it all varies wildly. The sources emphasize your solo practice is personal training. The only useful comparison is you today versus you yesterday. Focus on your own progress, celebrate your own small wins.
It's your workout, not a competition. Love that. Next pitfall, ignoring pronunciation.
Right. Focusing only on grammar and vocab and not paying attention to how you actually sound. But pronunciation is critical for being understood and feeling confident.
So just speaking isn't enough. You have to listen to how you speak.
Exactly. Actively work on it. Mimic native speakers, not just words, but the rhythm, the intonation. Use those recordings to catch your own patterns and refine them. Speaking aloud is the tool for pronunciation practice, but you have to use it consciously.
Okay. And related to that, rushing through practice without really listening to yourself.
Yeah, just generating noise without reflection. The sources stress you need to be an active listener to your own voice. Pause after speaking. Reflect. How did that actually sound? Was it clear? Smooth?
That self-assessment is key for knowing what to work on.
It's essential. It's that metacognitive piece, thinking about your own speaking, that drives targeted improvement. Don't just speak. Listen.
Makes sense. Another big mistake. Skipping daily practice.
Back to consistency. The sources are blunt. Doing this sporadically just won't cut it. You won't see the real benefits compared to daily engagement.
Even if it's just for a short time each day.
Especially then. Even 5 minutes daily is enough to keep the momentum, keep the habit going, keep English active in your brain. Life gets busy, sure, but find those 5 minutes. Don't let the chain break.
Build that ritual. Okay, we touched on this with variety, but it's worth hitting again. Only practicing comfortable topics.
Yeah, staying in that safe zone, talking about your job because you know the work jargon or your hobbies because they're familiar, it limits you.
Creates an artificial boundary on your fluency.
Exactly. To become truly versatile, you have to push into uncomfortable territory. Talk about abstract ideas, express difficult emotions, describe something new, give opinions on things you don't have ready-made vocabulary for. That's where the real growth lies.
Build that ability to handle the unexpected. Good point. And the last mistake, maybe the saddest one, giving up too soon.
The sources acknowledge, look, this might feel weird or silly at first. You might try it for a few days, feel self-conscious, not see instant results, and just stop.
Yeah, I can imagine that happening easily.
But building fluency is like learning any complex skill, an instrument, a sport. It takes time. It takes persistence. The message is clear. This method works, but you have to commit. Push through the initial awkwardness. Trust the process. Give it time.
Patience and persistence are key.
Crucial for getting past those first hurdles and actually experiencing the long-term benefit.
Okay, wow, we have covered a lot. The what, the why, the how-to steps, and the pitfalls to avoid. Now, the most important part, making it happen, taking all this theory and putting it into practice. This is where you, listening, come in. The source material wraps up with a really simple, actionable challenge.
Yeah, a fun and simple challenge, they call it, designed to just get you started and build that initial consistency.
So what is the core challenge?
It's really straightforward. Commit to speaking English out loud for at least 5 minutes every single day for the next 7 days.
That's it. Just 5 minutes a day for a week.
That's the starting point. Any topic, any technique we discuss, narrating, answering questions, describing whatever, the main goal for this first week is just doing it daily. Building the habit, getting comfortable using your voice in English every day.
No pressure for perfection, just pressure to speak.
Exactly. Overcome that initial inertia.
Okay, and they offer a tip to make it even easier, right?
Yeah, a really practical one. Before you even start day one, just jot down 7 simple topics or practice ideas, one for each day of the week.
So you don't wake up thinking, uh-oh, what do I talk about?
Precisely. Removes that decision fatigue. You just look at your list. Day 1, describe breakfast. Day 2, talk about favorite music. Day 3, answer what did you do yesterday. Boom, you just start speaking.
Nice. Okay. And the sources offer some variations on this challenge, too, to mix it up.
They do. One is called mirror talk.
Okay. Sounds intriguing.
Stand or sit in front of a mirror, maybe morning or evening, and just talk to yourself for 3 to 5 minutes. Describe your day, how you feel, your goals.
What's the specific benefit of the mirror?
They suggest it helps with focus. You get used to making eye contact while speaking, even with yourself. And it just generally helps you get more comfortable seeing yourself speaking English.
Interesting. Okay, another variation.
Establishing a daily English moment.
Like scheduling it.
Kind of, but linking it to an existing routine. Choose a fixed time or activity, maybe while the coffee brews, during your commute, right before bed, while walking the dog. And make that your non-negotiable English speaking time.
Ah, habit stacking. Link the new habit, speaking, to one you already do, making coffee.
Exactly. Makes it automatic, like brushing your teeth. Small, daily, no decision needed. It just happens. Great for long-term consistency.
Smart. What about motivation? Keeping yourself going.
For that, they strongly recommend the voice diary we talked about in the steps.
Right, recording your daily sessions.
Use your phone, record those 5+ minutes, just for you, save them. Then, after the 7 days, this is the magic part. Go back and listen to day 1. Then listen to day 7. The sources promise you will hear a difference. You'll hear improvement. That tangible, audible progress is incredibly motivating.
Wow, yeah. Concrete proof that it's working.
Undeniable proof fuels you to keep going.
Okay, what if you like games? Any ideas there?
Yep, the New Words Challenge. Each day, pick maybe 3 to 5 new words or phrases you learned recently. Then, in your 5-minute speaking time, your challenge is to create a short story or explanation that uses all of those new words.
Forces you to activate the new vocab.
Exactly. In context. Makes learning more dynamic and fun. The story can be totally silly or serious, doesn't matter. Just use the words.
Cool idea. Another practice technique mentioned.
Describing pictures out loud. Highly recommended. Take a photo during your day, find one online, whatever, then just spend your 5 minutes describing it.
What do you see? What's happening? Colors? Feelings?
All of it. What's in the foreground, background, what might happen next. Excellent for building descriptive vocabulary and connecting visual input to spoken output.
Makes you speak spontaneously based on what you see. Okay, staying accountable during the 7 days.
Simple but effective. Use a calendar or a checklist.
Old school.
Hey, it works. Draw a 7-day grid, use an app, whatever. Every day you do your 5 minutes. Check it off. X marks the spot.
Seeing that chain and check marks grow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's motivating. Don't want to break the chain.
Exactly. Simple psychology. Visual progress feels good.
And finally, after the 7 days are done successfully.
Celebrate. The sources say reward yourself. Acknowledge your consistency.
It doesn't have to be big, right?
Nope. Favorite snack, relaxing walk, watch an episode of a show. Maybe watch a movie in English for a double win.
Nice. Reinforces the positive habit.
Creates those positive associations. Makes you want to keep going.
Okay, so the challenge is set. But the absolute most important piece of advice from the sources on starting.
Just start.
That's it.
That's the core message. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect topic. Your voice is the only tool you need, and you have it right now.
Take that first tiny step, maybe just 60 seconds today. Describe the room you're in out loud.
Exactly. And build from there. The promise is, if you take on this challenge, if you stay consistent, you will feel the change. You stop waiting for fluency and start actively building it with your own voice, day by day.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've really covered the waterfront on speaking English alone.
We really have, from defining what it actually means, using your voice out loud,
to exploring all those practical techniques, simple descriptions, narrating, answering questions, storytelling.
Unpacking the powerful reasons why it works, eliminating fear, building confidence, fluency, pronunciation.
Navigating those common mistakes to avoid.
And finally, equipping everyone with that clear, actionable 7-day challenge to get started right now.
Yeah, the core message that came through so strongly from the sources is just undeniable, really. Speaking English alone isn't some weird workaround. It's a genuinely powerful, effective, and frankly, empowering way to significantly boost your fluency and confidence.
It really puts the control back in the learner's hands.
Totally. And now, we really want to bring you, our listener, into this conversation. Have you ever actually tried speaking English alone, consciously, as a practice technique.
What did you try? What worked well for you? What felt maybe difficult or awkward?
Your experiences could be super helpful for others listening, so please share your story in the comments or wherever you engage with us.
And hey, if you stuck with us through this entire deep dive, well, that says a lot about your commitment to improving your English speaking, especially finding ways to practice even when finding a partner is tough.
Absolutely. So if you found this useful, if you're feeling inspired and ready to actually take on the challenge, make speaking English alone part of your routine. We want to know.
Yeah, the source material we based this all on had a specific way they asked listeners to signal this, a way to show you went the distance with us and you're ready to act.
That's right. It's simple. Just write one word in the comments section.
The word is alone.
Just that.
Alone.
Type it out. It's like a signal to us, but also, maybe more importantly, a signal to yourself that you've taken this in and you're ready to put it into practice.
We'll be looking out for those comments. And let's leave everyone with that really powerful closing thought from this source material.
You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect teacher, or the perfect situation.
You can start right now.
Just you and your voice.
Speak English alone.
And fluency will follow.
Take control. Start speaking. You've got this.